Hello everyone, thank you for watching my channel. This is my first video. I decided to do a review of 13 Reasons Why. Before I start, I'm just going to apologize for the video quality. Again, like I said, this is my first video, so I don't have any expensive equipment. I'm just using the webcam on my super old laptop. So hopefully just what I'm saying is probably going to be better than this video quality. So to start out, if you're watching this, then I'm assuming you've already watched the series, so you know that 13 Reasons Why is basically a series about Hannah Baker and the 13 reasons why she decided to kill herself. And besides suicide, it displays a lot of symptoms of depression in general. So that's kind of what made me want to review it, because I don't know what suicide is like. But I do know what depression is like. I have experienced it before, and honestly I think that it's a very good portrayal of depression, which really needs to be talked about a lot more. And so one of the things that I really liked about it was that it kind of showed the change in character, the change in Hannah Baker's characters. Sorry guys. Hannah Baker's character. So the first 2 or 3 episodes, I really liked Hannah Baker. I thought she was so clever, witty, and just incredibly smart for her age. I actually loved her sense of humor. And not saying I didn't for the rest of the episodes, but those first 2, I really, of course, was getting introduced to her and loved it. And then from, I would say, the 3rd episode to the 13th, which is the end of the series, I wasn't noticing that side of her as much. So of course I was wondering what happened to, what happened to that sense of humor that I saw in the beginning of the series, and I really wanted to kind of see that side of her again. But as I got to the end of the series, yeah, count how many times I say series in this one video, but when I got to the end of the series, I realized that it was obviously because when you're depressed, you're not going to be the same, joyful, happy-go-lucky person that you usually are. So Hannah started out being she was still a little awkward. Come on, it's high school. She was still awkward, but she started out being herself, basically, and just answering with these, smart comments and everything. And towards the end, she wasn't talking as much. And I think a lot of that happens when you have depression, So if you do notice someone's change in behavior, then sit down and say, hey, what's going on? But realize that is perfectly normal for someone in, a sadder state. Another change that I noticed in Hannah was that she started to think that everyone was against her. Now, I will say there was bullying in the show. Of course, she was bullied, but there were times where people, in my opinion, didn't necessarily intend to hurt her, or she was much more hurt by it than they knew. So one of those examples is with Zach. So after she went on that little date with Marcus, I don't know if you could call that a date, because he showed up really late and all he wanted to do was have sex. So I don't know if you would call that a date. But basically, after Marcus left and Zach showed up at her table, and you could tell that he might hang out with his friends, but he's a bit different, and he felt bad. He wanted to talk to her. He asked if she wanted anything to drink, to eat, anything like that. And I agree with Hannah being a bit skeptical at first. It's kind of like, if you hang with them, I'm assuming you're going to be like them. So I agree with her being that way at first, but I feel that Zach put in effort to show that he was at least interested in getting to know Hannah, if not as a potential date or anything like that, or if she wasn't into that, at least as a friend. But she was just so hurt from all the other people in her high school being against her, or just making her feel like a slut or anything, that she didn't want any part of dealing with Zach. And so you could see how she was and there were a lot of cases where on the tape she would say, oh, is that what happened? And of course some were trying to protect themselves, but at the same time you don't really know how what you're doing is going to affect people. And I do believe that when you're depressed and someone does you wrong, it's definitely going to hit you harder, because you're already in a sad state, and then someone comes along and just is being a complete, asshole to you, and you're not in that, you don't have the mental capacity to kind of deal with that as someone who was healthier would. So that's going to affect you. But then there are also times when you're depressed and you tend to take things negatively. So you just have a negative outlook on life in general. And so Zach coming, or even, sorry guys, I don't remember the name, but her, because this was a while ago, but her blonde-haired friend, he obviously didn't know what was to come of that. But sometimes people do things, and the way it affects you is not the way that they intended. It doesn't make it right what they did, but at the same time, you have to realize that those sorts of things matter. So with Hannah, because she was already depressed, you could see throughout the show that she became more and more negative, started to think that, you know, everyone was just kidding, like no one really liked her. And I can see why she would definitely feel that way. I can. But as I mentioned before, Zach in his example, where someone was really trying to reach out to her and she was just tired of it, really. She was not having it. And I think another example is the counselor. So the last episode I really liked, where she kind of gave the counselor the final take and was like, yeah, you're the last reason why I killed myself. And I like it because the episode has so much, you know, talking points in it. I'll start out by saying that I actually think the counselor did a good job. Okay, so I mean, based on my reasoning right here and the change of attitude thing, you can see that I think the counselor did do a good job. Now, I think he could have been better, because while I feel like he asked a lot of questions, I do like that he kind of probed Hannah. She didn't come out right away and tell the counselor that she was raped or exactly what happened at the party. So the counselor had to ask her about 3 different questions to kind of get at what horrible thing actually happened to her. And I know he's a counselor, but some people don't have time to sit here and try to figure out what is wrong with you if you come in their office and don't want to tell them anything. So I think the counselor did a good job in terms of asking questions. I do not think the counselor ever asked her if she was having suicidal thoughts, which I think he should have, because if someone comes to you and says they don't care about anything, even life anymore, yeah, that is not necessarily a sign, but symptom of, you know, suicidal ideation. So he should have at least asked her that. But the way he handled the kind of knowledge that Hannah was raped it could have been better. So basically, he was telling Hannah that if she didn't want to press charges, then there was really nothing that he could do, and she would just have to kind of find a way to deal with it on her own outside of the legal system. So that is what he was telling Hannah, and Hannah took it as him just saying, okay, either you press charges or there's nothing I can do for you. Get over it, sort of thing. And hey, he didn't. I think Hannah had a right. I'm talking like she's a real person, but you know, real issues, these things do happen. I think Hannah had a right to kind of say, I think, what was I? Lost my train of thought. I have notes, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm doing. I think Hannah had a right to feel the way she was feeling, but at the same time, if you're not going to press charges, there's not really much that a counselor can do, unless you just come to his office and he's there for you to talk. That's pretty much it. Now, where I think he could have done better in that area was, I feel like he should have had at least a handout or something like that, saying, hey, I'm here to talk, but if you don't want to talk to me, here's some other therapists in the area, here's like some support groups that you can go to, something like that. Even if she didn't want to tell anyone, he could have offered her other mental health resources to get her through it, and then maybe she wouldn't have been feeling like, okay, he's basically telling me to just get over it. But again, her having that immediate negative outlook, no one cares about me, this is all futile, it's a waste of my time, and she just walked out of his office. And she was kind of upset at the counselor, really, because she expected him to run after her after she left his office. That was her main point of contention with the counselor. And as someone who has experienced depression, I've definitely felt like that too. Because when I get upset at someone, I always want them to be like, no, come back. It's kind of like when you're leaving a relationship, you know. It's like a bad relationship, and you want, as a woman, and you want the man to come run after you, say, no, don't leave. We would all like that. Even though you're the one to walk away and be like, I'm done, you would like someone to try to change your mind and try to keep you. That would definitely be nice. But at the same time, they were in a school building, okay? So when Hannah walks out, I don't think that's warranted. Okay, I don't think the fact that he didn't run after Hannah said that he didn't really care about the situation at all, because if he didn't care, he wouldn't ask questions. And she killed herself that night. So who would have said if she would have came to school the next day, next week, he wouldn't have tried to talk to her or see how she was doing or anything like that. She was kind of saying, oh, you know what? Even he doesn't want to run after me. So that proves everything I've been thinking, and I just need to get out of this world. So I think those 2 points were just really, mainly the last point where depressed people tend to think everyone is against them. I think that's something that I really wanted to share with you all, and that's the main reason why I decided to make this video, because I know that everyone tends to think that the way they think about things, that their perspective is reality. So if something that happens to you or you see something, you tend to think that your side of the story is the truth. That's how people are in general, whether they're depressed, not. That's how people are. We think we're always right. And that's really detrimental when you're depressed, because, hey, you have a negative outlook. And that is messing with your brain. That's messing with the way you see things. You know, that's going to make you're already sad. And you always being pessimistic is going to make you even sadder, because you're always viewing things in a negative light, you know? And I think it's really important for people with depression to realize that about the situation, about themselves, that they can be perpetuating their own illness by constantly thinking that everyone is out to get them, and that their thoughts in their mind are true. Those thoughts can be absolute lies. And you know, this is not related to the show, but just to go along with that point, I'm going to share with you one thing that happened to me. So, let's just say I was in school, and for 4 years I was in college. T-shirt. I was in college, but towards my freshman year, I met this girl, and we saw each other about. We kind of talked to each other about twice. Not saw each other, because I saw her more than that, but we talked to each other about twice. And then the last time, I had a little sour sense of humor, so the last time it kind of rubbed her the wrong way, and I thought she was like, you know what, I don't even want to mess with her anymore. And I was like, okay, cool. And then when I was seeing her, I thought she always had like this really like face on, like, her again sort of thing, and I thought she didn't like me. She didn't say that, but I just assumed she didn't like me. So it was that way for years, until one time I decided to go to a club meeting. Little did I know, she was the president of that club, so she was definitely there. We went around doing instructions because I was the new person there, and she did not even remember who I was. And genuinely, she did not remember who I was, my name or anything, because the next time she saw me, she was like, oh, hey, come back to our group, and so on and stuff like that. And it just made me feel like, oh my gosh, that was a light bulb in my head. Here I am thinking that this person was, you know, giving me the mean face and all sorts of things that didn't like me, and this person didn't even know who I was. So I don't know what I was seeing all that time. So that's just what I want to end this video with. If you haven't watched 13 Reasons Why, I spoiled some things, but I didn't tell you much, so you can still go ahead and watch the series. I really recommend it. I think it's good. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to keep posting videos on this channel, so please subscribe and support a new YouTuber. Thank you.